Engine 1 out, World Trade Center, 1060. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to World Trade Center now.
Welcome to Burnt Out. The Burnt Out podcast shares the stories of firefighters, emergency personnel, and other first responders around the world to create a pathway to save lives. The stories you will hear are real and may be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. And now I'd like to introduce you to your host for Burnt Out, a 33-year retired veteran of the fire department, Skip O.
Thank you, Sean, for that introduction. And I'd like to also thank our sponsors for making this possible. Some of our big sponsors are Worldwide Peer Support is one of our partners and sponsors. And you can go to worldwidepeersupport.org. We do 3 support Zoom meetings a week for first responders all over the United States and England. And also we fly people to different treatment facilities if they need help in that way. And we help get them what they need, whether it's a counselor too. So go to burnoutpodcast.org and check out the rest of our sponsors. And, Jeff, our other co-host, he couldn't be on here today, but we got a great guest on here today. I've known this guy for a while, kind of through my brothers, but I'd like to welcome Steve Guthrie on here. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Skip. I'm happy to be here and share some information with you.
Well, Steve, could you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, what state you're from, and also about personal things along into your professional life, just a little bit. Then we'll get into some questions.
Right. Okay. I'm from Indiana. Live Anderson, which is about 40 miles north of Indianapolis. In case people don't know where Anderson's at. Been married going on 54 years. Been very fortunate to have a good woman by my side. We have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. I started working at the Anderson Police Department in 1978. Worked there about 24 and a half years. While I was at there, I was in patrol for 10 years. I was in training for 8, and I finished out my career as assistant chief. While on the police department, I was on the SWAT team for 12 years, was a firearm instructor, physical tactics instructor, and a fitness specialist. I decided that I wanted to do something different, so I applied for the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. The state of Indiana is a little different. They have one main academy, which is run by the Indiana Law Enforcement Training Board, and then it has a few regional sites. I was there for 19 and a half years, taught a lot of students coming through, probably over 12,000. And it's a lot of people going through the academy. I also have a part-time business, S&G Consulting, where I do use of force consulting. I teach self-defense, interpersonal communication, ethics, basically professionalism. I have an opportunity to now help out. I guess you would consider me like an attorney pro bono because I'm not getting paid, but I do training at Anderson because I think you understand the manpower is just so short everywhere. It's hard to keep it up. And so when they get in a bind, they need someone to come in and train, I will do that. What I've seen over the years, and it happened to me, that was a problem. I didn't see it until it was too late. You're dealing with stress every day. And that stress is like blowing a balloon up, and some people can take more than others, just like a balloon can take more air than others, but eventually it's going to pop. Every first responder, and I'm talking about firemen, EMT people, police officers, they are tough. They are tough, and they think that they're not destructible, but they don't understand it's like a brick and mortar. When you build a new house, the brick and mortar is strong, but through the years, with all that stress, it starts decaying that mortar a little bit, and the brick starts loosening up. It was kind of interesting. I just attended a webinar yesterday by Alexapol, and Jocko was on. Jocko is a great speaker, and he was talking about wellness and how police officers, first responders need to take care of themselves. We don't take care of ourselves like we should. We have a lovely family. Like I said, I've been married for almost 54 years, 4 children. In 1990, everything was going good. And I can still see the officer coming in my office saying, "Steve, you need to get to St. John's right away." And I go, "What?" And they said, it's emergency. You need to go to St. John's. And so I called my wife. We're heading to St. John's. We get there. Our oldest son, who's 20, a Marine, played sports all his life, was going to Ball State part-time. He was in the Marine Reserve, so once a month he was going to be deployed. He already had his deployment papers sent to him, but he was also working at a place. And for some reason, he went into cardiac arrest, went down. We got there, and it was a nightmare. It was, I think, when people put on that kind of stress, they want to deny it. They want to shut it out. And we got there about 7:00. They was going to transport him down to Indianapolis, so we drove down to Methodist. For 9 days, we was on a roller coaster. If you can imagine, 9 days not knowing if your son was going to make it or not make it. They didn't think he was going to make it, but he was still taking off the life support and he was still living. So we was making plans of long-term care because he was going to need that. And then all of a sudden, we get a call in our hotel, which is hooked right by the hospital, said, you need to get over here fast. So we got over there, and our son was dying. The only good thing, Skip, I got to hold him in my arms when he took his last breath. But what that did to me, I didn't realize it, but that put me in post-trauma, just like going to the military.
Well, Steve, first of all, I wanted to, my condolences, because I didn't hear that story. I didn't know that. And one thing I wanted to ask you too, at that time, did they have any kind of peer support or any mental health for you guys at the police department?
No, and that was the problem. And I'm the type of person, because I was raised this way, I think probably our generation we kept everything inside. And when you keep it inside, you're not making it. It's like what I look at: strategic plan thinking and tactical thinking. Strategical thinking is long term, trying to help yourself. Tactical is hitting it quick, but not taking care of the problem. And that's what I was doing. I got stuck on depression. I was in depression for over 2 years. It took me. I was laying on the hospital bed, couldn't breathe, heart problem, causing because I have AFib anyway, so it was causing me more problems. And I was laying on that bed, and I go, I got to start taking ownership. I got to stop this. So at that point, I started thinking small steps, helping myself, because the police department didn't help. And no one, I don't think, unless you experience a loss of a son or a daughter, I don't think you can really contemplate what that person's going through. So when I got stuck in, because I didn't want to accept it. See, I blame myself being in law enforcement, and I think you being in the fireside, you help people. And I felt guilty because I couldn't help my son. And that guilt was eating me up. I finally accepted that I couldn't have done anything. I couldn't have saved him. I always thought I could save him if I was there. And I accepted that. And once I accepted that, I started moving forward. And it has helped me so much. My family was my support. My family, we all stuck together. But the police department didn't at that time have where you could go talk to someone, a peer group that you could talk to that could relate to what maybe you was going through.
If you're right, unless somebody's been through that, it's hard. You can empathize with somebody, but you telling me that story and what today is to me is the 21st anniversary of my granddaughter passed away. So I know how it hit our family and my daughter and stuff. And in fact, I went down there today and I gave her a big hug and stuff. So it's good to have a good family around you, surrounding you and getting you through things. So when you started going through your depression, you said, I got to get out of it, and your family's helping you. Is there some other things that you did? Did you talk to a therapist, or did you talk to any kind of clergy or anybody like that?
No. See, I'm a very closed person. That was my problem. And I learned as it went on that I needed to talk to people. And so I did have a couple of close friends reached out to me, and we sat down and we talked. I just tried to help. I mean, other officers was going through the same thing. And when I went to work at the academy, I started studying about stress and about officers going into a burnout stage, because that's what usually happens. Because over time, if you let stress build up, you're going to be burnt out. And once burnout hit, you're depleted mentally and physically exhausted, and you hit rock bottom. So you got to really get back up. So what I try to do, I try to reach out to people that I saw that was struggling, who lost maybe a loved one or went through a bad divorce, and just sit down. And the problem is, you don't have to talk to them. You just have to listen to them. And that's what I was trying to do, just listen. I'll tell you, the best thing that really helped myself and my wife was when people lost a loved one in church, the pastor did call and said, Steve, could you and Kathy go talk to them? Actually, that helped us more than probably we helped them. But we're still good friends today. They live in South Carolina. They want us to come out and see them. And they said, you helped us do. They lost their son in a car accident. I just told them, I said, you're going to go through all these stages of denial, anger, depression. Accept it and move on and start taking baby steps. And Bob did. We still talk today on Facebook because they live in South Carolina, but they were good people, and they lost a son, and I knew how they felt.
Sure. I think, sharing life experiences is huge, and like you said, I don't have to have the words of wisdom. I just have to have ears to hear and let them,
yes.
Like you was talking about that balloon, you get that big balloon of stress. You're letting them kind of do that pop off relief valve and let some of that stress out. And you just got to receive it and let them do what they need to do. And I think I applaud you and your wife on doing that.
I just taught ethics at the PD 2 weeks ago. I taught like 7 different sessions, and I don't talk so much about ethics because values and principles are already instilled. What I talk about is decision making, and what I talk about is keeping yourself healthy, because when you're healthy, you make better decisions. And so the 3 things I hit hard was, I said, eat healthy, exercise, but the main thing is proper rest. You got to be able to sleep, and that's where people struggle when they can't sleep. I've got someone going through. They've already gone through a divorce. They are working extra time because what he's trying to do is cover things up. So he's working and working and working. And I told him, I said, stop, because he was really feeling bad. He was sick. He said he couldn't keep food down. He couldn't sleep. I said, that's because of stress. I said, just stop, take a step back, and start making a plan. I tell people, you have to have extreme ownership. You have to own what is happening in your life. And once you do that, then you're able to take baby steps to go in the right direction. And I hope I'll continue talking to him, but I'm hoping that he slows down a little bit, accepts that the divorce is here. Now he's got to deal with it. He still has children to live for. Because the problem I see, and this was really striking, yesterday in that webinar, Dr. Black, who's with Lexapol, said 1 in 12 contemplate suicide. That's unbelievable. 1 in 12 first responders, and sometime in their life, will contemplate suicide. And when you feel like it's suicide, what you're doing is that you feel hopeless. You feel like there's nowhere to go, and that's when you really need the support group. You need your friends. You need to talk to people, and don't shut it in and keep it hidden.
Let me ask you something. What's a normal day like? You're talking about taking care of your mental health, eating right, and your spiritual life. What's a normal day as far as exercise, eating? And then at the end of it, I'd like for you to tell people how old you are if you're willing to do that.
Okay. Even when I don't feel like it, I go work out. I tell people, there's some days I don't feel like working out, but I work out. I only work out every other day now because of my age, but I work out. I do it. I get to the gym and I get that done. I don't eat a lot of breakfast. I never was a big breakfast eater, but about 10 o'clock, I'll eat something healthy. If you eat something that makes you feel good right away, it's bad for you. I tell people that. So if you eat that big jelly donut, it feels really good right now in that first 4 or 5 minutes, but it's bad for you. I went and worked out yesterday, and I pushed myself hard. My body was aching, but that's okay because it's good for me in long term. And that's why I try to tell people, short-term stuff is not good for you. You want a long-term. So when you're thinking about trying to take ownership of your life, what the direction you're going, first of all, you got to be open with yourself and honest. That's the main thing. I was talking to a colleague. I told her I would give her a plug. She has a wellness, her Monroe Wellness, Heidi Monroe. She's just starting her business. She's doing consulting and a coaching with first responders and police officers when they are struggling. But I was just talking with her over the weekend, and she's struggling herself right now because her niece was just murdered not too long ago. And she doesn't believe in the death penalty, which many people don't, and that's fine. That's your belief. But she looked at me and she said, Steve, but I hope he gets it. And she goes, I'm struggling with that. I thought, that's a normal feeling. Now, work through that process. Is it really going to solve anything for you? And she goes, no. I said, then don't compromise your values and principles. If you believe not the death penalty, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But I tell police officers this every day. You have to be strong-willed and strong-minded, but you have to be humbled about it. See, people, I feel like I've been a leader for many years, teaching new recruits, but I never thought I knew it all. And if you come to my class, the first thing I'm going to tell you whether I got 20 people or 150 people, I'm going to say, I'm going to learn from each one of you. You're just going to learn from me. So I'm getting more benefit out of this training than you are, because I don't think I know everything. I stay humble because I learn something every day about how to get better. I get up after working out. I eat my 10 o'clock. I go out. If I got work to do around the house, since I'm retired and I don't have to train at the police department, I'll work around the house. Kathy's working part-time, so when she comes home, I make her dinner so she doesn't have to cook. That's what happens.
Hey, hold on. You cannot share that information. That's going to make me look bad and all the other husbands out there.
Oh, that's okay. Because I'm just telling you, it's a 50-50. We work together. If I work, she'll make lunch or supper. If she's working, I help out.
We're going to start with that counselor you was talking about. Where is she located? Where is she located? What's her name? Does she have a phone number that we could talk to her if a first responder wanted to call in?
Yes. Her name is Heidi Monroe. She lives in Pendleton. Her phone number is 317-402-4822. And right now she's doing consulting and coaching at the Anderson Police Department. The chief, Chief Lee, has really understands the mental and physical aspect of police officers. So he is bringing her in for sessions where she's putting on a presentation. Plus, she's meeting with the DTF and detectives who work with child crimes and consult and coaching with them, making sure that they are healthy. Which that is great that the chief is taking that step.
And I think that's golden. When you got an administration that brings that in and encourages that is golden. The stuff that I've heard all over the United States and England, that's few and far between. But I'm just so glad that the chief is doing that for you guys, for the guys.
The chief is doing that. And so anyway, I've been doing this for the last 50 some years. My routine hasn't changed much, and I will be 72 years old in October.
Now, I know you listeners can't see him. He don't look 72 years old. I'm telling you, he don't look 72 years old. So it's like, that takes a lot of excuses from me, because I'll get up with aches and pains, but I can always do something, whatever it is. I don't have to go lift the world. I used to go want to bench all this weight and do all this, but an older guy told me, he was a Pendleton Reformatory guard, said, Skip, it's not how much you can lift, it's how long you can lift. And just like you're telling everybody, it's longevity. It's the marathon, not the sprint race.
Right. That's what it is. And so, we like to make excuses.
Like you and your wife, Kathy, what's some of the stuff that you do as far as volunteer together? Some of the things that, I know you go up there to the police department, you train the guys and volunteer to do that.
Right.
What's some of the things what's Kathy do and what do you guys do together?
Kathy is the Senior Link Advocate, which the police department started to implement that program again, where she helps older people in the community may not have a family close. She just had a daughter call from Florida and say, "My mom, she has a tendency of falling, and she does. Can you put her on your list to have volunteers check on her?" Kathy and a police officer went out there, talked to her. She's a very nice lady. Kathy called the daughter back and said, "We got her on the list. We're going to check on her on a regular basis." Gives her a peace of mind down from living in Florida. I have gone out to Crime Watch meetings. I started going out. I did it in June and July, and I was asked to do a presentation at these meetings on use of force, on police officers' use of force, because people don't understand why police officers do certain things, and that's a whole nother training podcast. If I could go on use of force forever, but I really enjoy meeting people. Now tomorrow, we're going to go to the triad meeting. Kathy is going to go, and I said, "Can I go?" And she goes, "You want to go?" I go, "Yes, I want to talk to these people. I want to meet people." You have to have people interaction, that relationship in the community. And I always sell the fire department and the police department on the job that they're doing, because I have my cousin, I think is on the fire department. He's a paramedic, and I think we do the same job. Your guys have a dangerous job going in buildings and having to rescue people. So it's something that fire department personnel can do. And I would tell these three things: eat healthy, exercise, and get sleep. And take ownership in your own life. Don't make excuses why you don't do something. Take ownership.
I tell you, those are words of wisdom. Eat healthy, work out, and get some sleep. That's words of wisdom. But Steve, I know there's somebody, whether it's a first responder, police, fire, military, ER staff, or somebody that's listening to this podcast. You got 1 minute to tell them, don't take that drink, don't take your life. There is hope out there. What are you going to tell them?
If they're struggling right now, because I was struggling. I mean, I was at that point. I lost a loved one, but I was struggling, and I finally just laying on that hospital bed. I would tell you, whether you're laying in bed, whether you're home, look and be honest with yourself. Look deep in yourself. You have something to live for. You just don't see it yet. I would say, do a strategic plan. Think of long term. Make yourself a better person. I always told my players this. I coached at a high school for many years. I said, there will be players that don't want to work as hard as you're working because they don't want to get up. They'd rather bring you down. If you're struggling, find a person you can talk to, whether it's a peer group or a good friend. Talk to them, because if you find the right person, like over the weekend, Heidi and I just listened to her talk about her struggling with her values and principles over this issue with her niece being murdered. And I didn't say much. I just listened to her, because actually people can help themselves by just talking and walking themselves through whatever they're going through. There's somebody out there that cares for you. And I can tell you this, my daughter, who is just turning 50, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. That's a terrible disease. But you know what we did? We all pulled together, and I've never done this before. I went and got a tattoo on my back and said, we all stand together. We'll get through this. And so you just find family, you find friends, you find someone to talk to, and just remember that there is something to live for. And I think you can get out of bed every morning and start a routine. Start getting up. Don't make excuses. Go work out. Eat healthy. Meet people. I tell people, I don't know people, and I walk up to them at that. We go to the block parties. I think I've seen you there at your group. I walk around and talk to everybody at that block party that has tables, people, sitting there, just to meet them and talk. I think that helps people when you come up and you introduce yourself and you just start talking to them.
Absolutely. I think that's huge. One thing I want to give the listener out there that might be struggling, the suicide prevention line now is 988. So if you're struggling, just dial 988. There'll be somebody out there in to talk to you. And also you can dial the Worldwide Peer Support, and it's 812-646-9977. 812-646-9977. Or you can go to the worldwidepeersupport.org or the burntout.org, and you can message us and we'll get back to you real soon. Steve, there's another thing I always ask all the guests. Is there a verse, a phrase, a statement that radiates in your mind when you're going through something, or something that keeps you going, or a quote from somebody? Is there something like that always pops in your mind?
I tell people, I always say, how are you living your life? Are you doing things the right way? Are you showing compassion? Because I'm a big on showing compassion to people. So I always ask people, that's why I say, I get up every morning, how am I living my life? Am I going to do the right thing today? Am I going to do it? And I also want to talk about Skip, because I know you have struggled, but I'm very proud of you. You've made it through there and you've helped people. I think when you help people, it helps you. It makes you heal up better. And I want to commend you for what you're doing.
Well, Steve, I appreciate that. I know in your years you planted a lot of seeds, and sometimes we don't always see them sprout, but I hope you and Kathy continue to do that. And I hope if anybody needs anything out there, please contact us on the numbers we get you. And if you want to get a hold of Steve, just message burnoutpodcast.org and send us a message, and I'll forward it to Steve, and he could get a hold of you and share his story. But for right now, Steve, thank you for coming on the show. And what I like to tell people is seize the awkward. When you don't want to talk about it, that's when you talk about it. So, Steve, yes, you have a great day. And everybody, when you go home tonight, shut your phone off, shut your scanner off, and get some sleep. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Burnout. Burnout is brought to you by the Worldwide Peer Support. You can visit Burnout Podcast at burntoutpodcast.org or visit Worldwide Peer Support at worldwidepeersupport.org. Your host for Burnt Out is Skip O. Executive producer Sean P. Neal. And produced by mypodcast.media.